is he learning? I don't think he's learning against anything. So like, he's not really doing what's moral. He's just doing something that's different from everybody.
Okay, Michelle, thank you.
Doesn't it also depend on an individual's definition of rebel? Because some might say he's a rebel because did he graduate from high school or college? Well, okay, well, some people might not even think he's a rebel because he's not like fighting against a popular or a widespread cause. Like he's just, I guess he's fighting against himself and like trying to figure out what he's gonna do with his life out there. But I think it definitely depends on an individual's definition of a rebel because I mean I may think that he's not a rebel, and for example Jordan may think that he is because of Jordan's individual definition of rebel. I feel like
It depends on where you stand again, right? Okay, Kiana, last word on this.
You can somewhat say he's a rebel because I feel like he went into the wilderness for like a reason. He gave up his money and his lifestyle, and I feel like he was going against materialistic values and the whole American dream thing, and decided to just like go out on a limb and live free.
So what's the evidence in the first chapter that he is a rebel? What does he say that tells us he is a rebel? What does he say? Actually, you can't really say it out loud. Right? Because he says on page page 6. Does everyone see it? When Gallion asked whether he had a hunting license. Hell no, Alex scoffed. How I feed myself is none of the government's business after their stupid rules. Okay? So this actually fits like a textbook definition of a rebel is not just someone who's going against society's rules, but it's also someone who's going directly against the government. Okay? Alright. So I want to get to the meat of the classwork today. So is anyone opposed to skipping the vocabulary review for today and pushing it to tomorrow?
Absolutely not.
Okay, great. Alright, so let's start by defining an epigraph. An epigraph is not to be confused with an epigram. It's not to be confused with an epithet. And it's not to be confused with there's another one. Epilogue is at the end. What is the other one? Epigram, epithet, epigraph. Okay, let's just not worry about the other one. If I remember it, I'll let you know, okay? An epigraph is, well, let's hear from you guys. What's the definition of an epigraph, Charles? Good. So another work of literature. And I like that vocab, it insinuates a major theme of the chapter. Teresa, you want to add to that? Yes. Of course. So what is the purpose of an epigraph besides to frame the theme of the chapter? Okay, that's a good one. I haven't thought of that. I'm going to put that up here too. It can also foreshadow. And the last thing that an epigraph does is it actually, it's like a literary allusion, right? So it is a very overt allusion. That's allusion with an A at the start of the chapter. So that allusion gives the reader a literary reference that brings in a whole other scope of information that will help them understand what the author is trying to say. Just like a literary allusion within a text. All right, does everyone have these notes? Can we move on? Cameron, Michelle, you got them down? Yes. Okay, so the next thing I have for you, I'll keep these notes up here for a moment. The next thing I have for you is a bit of a challenge, okay? I gathered some epigraphs from books that you've read, maybe going back to 7th grade, okay? Diane helped me with this a little bit yesterday. I want you to see if you can recognize where that epigraph came from, what book it came from. You might not recognize all of them, okay? And then I also want you to tell me connection between the epigraph and the book is. Okay? After this, we're going to look specifically at the epigraphs that are in Into the Wild. Shh, Delia, don't give it away. Shh, Delia.
You can tell the
Okay? Then we'll look at some of the epigraphs from Into the Wild together, and then I'm going to set you off to look at the epigraphs on your own, okay? So this is going to be partner work, and I'm going to give you, let's make this a race. Let's have the first person done. I'll give you a donut tomorrow, okay? So I want to give you a maximum of 5 minutes with the first person done, including the connections. You get a donut tomorrow. Go ahead and start.
Okay, I don't remember the first one.
What was that book we read?
You're picking up on the right thing.
The first one.
Look at the key. What are the keywords?
Wait,
Is up on that wall. How are we doing over here? Yes, you do. You gotta look at keywords. Okay? This, think about gold. Shh, till she cried, love her gold hatted. Who's she? Right? I must have you. You can do this.
In 2009.
You have to pick up on the keywords though. Then wear the gold hat if that will move her. Who wears the gold hat to move someone? Gold represents, what does gold represent? Money, okay? So who uses money to woo a woman? What book am I thinking of right now? Who uses money to woo a woman? Starts off poor.
what's his name?
Okay.
Yo, the last.
Are you really?
Oh, we have to do connection. We're done.
You gotta give the thought of the connection, and that's incorrect. I'm hoping that you read the last one. I'm hoping that you read the last one. There's a possibility that you didn't.
I don't think
See
you
if
read.
it's up there.
If we didn't read your. Oh yeah, we did. We didn't read. That's from the book
No,
I
it's
read.
not up there. Does anyone know what the famous American literature about a lawyer is?
No.
Perhaps the most famous?
I mean, so all the things we look at.
Good guess though. Okay, write your connections for the other ones, and then I'll give you a couple more hints for the last one.
Oh, the second one was not about it.
Then where's the gold hat? What is the gold hat? Yeah, okay, and gold is. What's gold represent? Wow. Right? Wear the gold hat if that would move her. So who is doing well? That's the one. Hi, Aaron. Take epigraphs take a little bit of. So what is the connection between the epigraph and the book? No. The book that you identified. Does that make sense to you? You've got about 1 more minute.
Wait.
Read that first line. Think about symbolism. Okay, just not Can you close it, please? Thank you.
I was waiting for you at the door.
What you want?
That little boy.
Start by writing it down. Read that first. There's no one wealthy in Streetcar Named Desire. So for the third one,
She plans his man.
for the third one, read that first line really carefully.
Alright, I have a question.
Seventh grade.
No, it's not. It's from 11th grade.
That's what she said. She said
What
something.
will round? What will 11th grade?
All these books,
No, they're not.
No, these are from last year, I know, but she was saying some of them are from
Some of
seventh
them
grade.
are from your almost done.
Not seven.
Some of them are old. Some of them are old.
The ones I read two of the same year.
Okay, are you ready for? I'm going to give you one final hint for that last epigraph. Okay. Everyone's attention in the front of the room, please. Lawyers, I suppose, were children once. Okay? This famous author wrote one novel, and she just released her second novel. It was we talked about it in class. Her second novel was found after years and years, and it was just published.
Oh, she white little baby girl.
The story is about a child and her father who is a lawyer.
She was the girl murdered.
Isn't it a movie?
Child and a lawyer. Was she in the Holocaust?
Was she?
Yeah.
If anyone's read this book, I'm going to be heartbroken.
To Kill a Mockingbird?
I think I know.
Oh!
Oh! I wasn't in the place. I seen the
Have you really never read it?
You just said you read it out again.
Alright, so now that if you did read it, now that you know, folks,
I seen the play that.
now that you know that this is the book, if you did read it, try to fill out that connection, okay?
I can't go.
I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds here.
We're done.
You don't have to. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, bring your attention up to the front of the room, please.
The Great Gatsby.
Okay.
I told you.
The first,
She told you?
folks,
Okay.
follow me here, okay? New beekeepers are told the way to find the elusive queen is by first locating her circle of attendants. This should have been an obvious one. It was Secret Life of Bees, okay? Teresa kept it really simple. She basically answered the connection part with like a nice, strong, thematic sentence, okay? The first one she wrote was, when you find your roots, you gain prosperity. Good, okay? The second one, this book is essentially different from any other that has been published concerning the late way or any of its incidents. Those who have had any such experience, as the author will see its truthfulness at once, and to all other readers, it is commended as a statement of actual things by one who experienced them to the fullest. The things they carry. Did anyone get it?
Hey.
You got it? Okay, great. I would say that the
This will be yours.
where
Oh, on you.
okay. Your past or trauma changes people. Okay. And then the next one. Then wear the gold hat if that will move her. If you can bounce high, bounce her too. Till she cry, lover, gold hatted, high bouncing lover, I must have you.
How come Shakespeare's not in this?
Plays don't typically have epigraphs the same way that books do. I did check to see, but they typically don't have epigraphs the same way that books do. Okay, if you interpreted that first line really carefully, it would have become clear that The Great Gatsby is the epigraph that this came from. And then the last one we all know was really tricky, but that does come from To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm just curious, can you raise your hand if you did read To Kill a Mockingbird? Yes, the play counts. Okay, good. All right, great. Let's move on. Let's look at some of the epigraphs from our wonderful book, Into the Wild. Okay. Angel, will you, nice and loud, please read the first epigraph, I Wanted Movement?
I wanted movement and not going forward with the future.
was found with Chris McCandless.
Okay, so although transcendentalism is an American, I would say traditionally it's an American ideology, Leo Tolstoy is a Russian author, most famous for the book Anna Karenina. Anna Karenina, it's a wonderful book. Okay, and he was always very focused on families. So, considering what you know about Chris McCandless, what you know about the path that he took thus far, because we're a little bit short on time, let's go straight to what this metaphorically means and why Krakauer is including it. I'm just going to give you, DeAndre, will you please sit next to Dalion for today? I'm recording, and I don't want you to.
He's not in it. He's not in it.
Don't want him to be blocking it. Let's skip right to what does it metaphorically mean and why Krakauer is including it. I'm going to make this partner work, but it has to be really quick. So, take 3 minutes with a partner, with a person sitting closest to you, to work through these last two columns. Go ahead and start. So, okay, you're gonna work with English? Yeah. So we're working on.
Yeah, actually, like, video recording.
Yeah. It's okay. So just start by reading and annotating this, and then you're just going to work with these two columns. Okay? What specifically is he? What part of what he No, family. Remember, he leaves his family. He doesn't communicate. I was gonna say you have the
It's Chris, right? Alex?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We should just continue calling him
Chris.
Chris.
He does have one.
Like,
People want like excitement, but they want to be on.
please make sure that you're considering what the title that this epigraph comes from is. About 1 more minute.
Why is it like
Alright, 30 seconds. I'm going to call 3 groups. Here we go. Okay, here we go. I'm going to ask Francesca, Kiana, and Havana to share out. Okay. You guys can share it for whichever column you want. I just have to have both columns answered by the time we get be specific with who you mean by he.
Chris.
To risk his what?
He's risking his happiness in order to experience like adventure.
Kiana.
I said, he includes it because it previews or gives us insight.
Alright,
So why
contain
Chris,
yourself and
so
start
why
over.
Chris left to the wilderness? He found out same in his life before he wanted to get job.
Can you say it one more time, and can you frame it with this question at the beginning? Why is Pratt Power including it?
Pratt Power including this epigraph because it gives us insight or previews why Chris left in the first place. He found no excitement in his previous lifestyle and wanted to branch out and find something.
Excellent. Previews his previous lifestyle and why he left. Havana.
To add on to Kiana, I said pretty much that too, but something was, it's ironic, because he came from a life of like wealth and prosperity, and he thought, and he didn't really have to work for anything. He was really like smooth sailing, but now he wants more like for himself. He wants something different.
Great. Anyone want to add to either of these? No one's had a point here that wasn't made? Go ahead, Sophia.
I just wanted to say that I feel like Pratt Power included it just to show that if you have like more passion or love for like a different type of environment, then it's gonna be really hard for you to live that type of family lifestyle when like if you love something so strongly, it's gonna be
Great. We haven't really been introduced to Chris's family yet, right? And what exactly was that was going wrong with Chris's family that maybe was like the straw that broke the camel's back and that encouraged him to eventually leave. But we will be introduced to that, okay? So keep these epigraphs in mind when we come to that. Okay, so I want to do a quick class vote before we go to group work, okay? I have one more epigraph here. I have one more epigraph here from Wallace Stegner. We can do the same thing that we just did, go through this together. That's option 1. Or you can go right to the group work directions on the next page. That's option 2, okay? So the first one, I'm giving you the epigraph to interpret. The second one, you're choosing one from the book with your group. Can you just raise your hand if you would like to do option 1? Can you raise your hand if you would like to do option 2? Will you raise your hand if you didn't listen and you don't know what the options are? Okay, good to know. All right, so we're going to go with option 2. Read the directions carefully. I'm going to come in and check in with you to make sure. Hold on 1 second, folks. I didn't say go yet. I'm going to come check in with you to make sure that you have a scribe, an interpreter, and a presenter. If there's 2 people in your group, then you should assign 2 roles to 1 person. And then make sure that you're answering all of the questions on the directions. You've got about 10 minutes here to do this. Go ahead and start.
I have a mark. Fine.
I have markers.
I'm not doing it.
Alright, so who's the scribe, who's the interpreter, who's the presenter? Okay, so the presenter is also the question master. That means that you need to be facilitating these questions and making sure that you're moving through all the information you need in order to have a full interpretation. Okay?
No, no, we didn't.
Alright.
No. What, if we didn't have a hard time? I can do everything. Want me to read it out to you?
You guys pick one? Yeah. Okay, so the first thing is you need to neatly write it on the chart paper. So whoever the scribe is going to start by doing that. Okay? If you have to use an ellipsis, you can do that. dive in with Sophia and Sharon Wilkins. So as Michelle is writing this, I would encourage you guys to start answering these questions so that by the time it's time for her to write them, you already have her prepped and ready to go.
Just read it to me, yes. I'm not
Anytime you want. Wow. So while she's writing that, you should start analyzing it.
Okay.
Alright, what did you say?
Alright, so did you start with these questions yet? So as Talia's writing yours, you are gonna do like a little bit of interpreting so that she's ready to go, okay? So as Savin's writing, make sure that you're asking the questions. Yeah, so, okay. What does it metaphorically mean? What does it literally mean? How does it frame the chapter? Which you probably aren't gonna get chapters, so instead just send you a video about what the chapter's gonna be about, okay? Why do you
Period. Did you want the light?
No, light, it grew.
Okay, so stop, I think. Okay, that's all I need. I left my mom at home for that.
Okay, so you guys have about 5 minutes here. You got about 5 minutes here. You're not just getting that. We're gonna work together. What you want to do is try to think about the time you start rating your analysis. Do you want another chance? You can start writing the analysis around here.
Is there a section for this, meaning like, is there something like in that? Why should I write it?
POISC?
Stop shaking the table, please.
Okay, so it looks like most people are done writing their FDRs. Start copying down that analysis.
We have to write
Let me show you some nice hair. This is what you call nice hair. You're right.
Alexander, graffiti farm
This is your book.
in order to
You don't know.
create yourself.
Who's book is that?
Excuse me.
You got 20.
Excuse me. Okay. Excuse me. He's talking about insurance, right? So obviously this is a metaphor for but Proud Courage, he needs, he wants us to see something new about him.
That's so much.
That's what like this part of. See if it's what I should find. Cause the second epigraph here says, I ascended, which is connected to my mind, right? I steadily ascended along the rock and ridge, having traveled the country as far as we until I lost myself in the cover areas. So it's about not only like a journey, right? Got about 4 minutes here. How are you doing? Which one did you choose?
I wish to acquire the simplicity, native feelings, and virtues of savage life, to divest myself from fastidious habits, prejudices, and imperfections of civilization. To find, amid solitude and grandeur of the western wilds, more correct views of human nature and the true interests of man. The season of snow is deferred, that I might experience the pleasure of suffering, novelty, and danger. I would just stick with that last, the pleasure of suffering and the novelty of danger. How does that relate to Kristen Cameron? How does that relate to this book? Your group needs to have that included in their analysis, so make sure that they're included. Okay?
Kobe.
No, I don't. Sorry, Teresa. Put a little heart over it. How you doing over here? Great.
You said wasn't that a show about the novel?
I got it first.
Yeah, well, you pass like.
Chapter on it. It's really chapter.
I can do my study guide.
I was gonna say, being able to remember the chapters on like free, yeah.
Alright, so you guys still need to do your portion, right?
Yeah.
I have an idea. Okay, so you guys gotta get it down. Everyone's gonna finish up in about a minute.
Just fight with people.
1 minute! 1 minute! 1 minute, and then your poster board needs to be on the wall somewhere. Put it on the wall somewhere.
Alright, so let's do like what.
What did it show about
This is show about
Chapter.
She looked up to Jack.
MISSIS, yeah. Never learned that?
What does it
Yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah, what did it show about?
Okay, 15 seconds. Put it up on the wall.
Can you do this real quick? I told you nothing about the fucking little phone real quick. Chill.
Okay, 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Needs to be up on the wall. And you can continue writing, but it needs to be up on
It's
the
not off, but
wall.
I know.
1 1/2. 1 3/4. 1. 175. 1.5. 1.5. Okay, I need everyone's attention in the front of the room before the TTL bell rings.
Yes, we killed. We killed God.
Folks, thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Angel.
Thank you, Dewey.
Okay, you have 2 tasks right now, okay? The first task, of course, is your ticket to leave. Hold on, folks. The ticket to leave gives you a specific epigraph to interpret, but before interpreting it, you need to read one other interpretation because we skipped that second one that we were doing together, okay? So find one other interpretation, sign your name on it so that I know you read it, and then you can go to your ticket to leave.
I don't read.
Find one other interpretation,